Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to go over observational drawing. Now, hopefully by now you've watched the video that was in step one, okay? I find this video fantastic, comes up with a lot of great tips. Although it's geared for little kids, okay, meaning elementary students, I feel that older students can actually get a lot out of this too, okay? So I want to kind of go over a few bit of tips before I kind of show you what I'm looking for when you're actually going through the steps and you're actually creating your artwork, okay? Now, each grade is going to be focusing on a little bit different things, okay? So first off, sixth grade is going to be working on still lifes, okay? So when you create your project, you are going to be making sure that you're doing it for a still life. A still life is a group of inanimate objects. What is an inanimate object? It means that they don't move, okay? It's a collection of things. Seventh and eighth grade are going to be doing a little bit different. Seventh grade is going to be doing landscapes and architecture, stuff that's outside, okay? Where eighth grade is going to work on portraits and figures, okay? Now, all of these tips that I'm going to go over can be applied to all these other subjects, okay? So first one I want to go over is draw what you see and not what you think you see. So what does that mean? A lot of times what happens is that people will draw something, okay? And I'll ask them, did you really look at that? And they're like, oh, yeah, I did. And I'm like, I don't think so, okay? You really got to draw what you see in front of you, even if it's a little wonky, okay? It's all right, because once you add in shading and you add in color, that's when it really comes out, okay? Light to dark. You want to draw lightly and then go toward dark, okay? A lot of times what happens if you draw really heavy with a heavy hand, okay, and then you try to erase, you get what's called, I call them ghost lines, okay? So if you start off really light and then add the pressure on, almost like you're building, then you're going to be able to actually fix mistakes in the beginning and then gradually build darker and darker. Eye bounce check. This is when you're looking at something and you keep going back and forth and checking, okay, to see if you have it right. Now, a lot of times people will just stare at something and then they'll go down and they'll draw, but they'll forget to look back up, okay? That's what that bounce is. It's when you bounce up from your paper back up to the thing that you're looking at, okay? Now, how I'm going to show you on how I want you to draw is by mapping it out, adding the outline or the contours, okay, the outside lines, and then finishing details, all right? A lot of times people just want to jump straight into that outline and then the finishing details, but honestly, you need to really map it out and place things on your paper. This actually helps with making these how do I put it? The best way is not making mistakes, basically, okay? And other things you got to focus on is foreground, middle ground, and background. These are the things that are kind of like make it feel like it's three-dimensional, that goes back in space. Now, all of the things with a still life, a landscape, architecture, we have portrait, and figures. Those three areas definitely help with an actual picture, okay? All right, so we're going to change a little gears, all right? I'm going to change the view of the camera, and we're going to check out my hands, and then we're going to see what I'm talking about for each one of these steps, the map, the outline, and the finishing details. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go over a couple of little techniques that I want you to kind of be aware of when you're drawing, okay? Now, how you practice is up to you, okay? I'm going to put notes on my paper. If you want to copy them down, that's fine. As I said with grading, the effort that you put in is the amount of grade that you get back. Okay, I would highly suggest that you copy down my notes and maybe practice a little some of the techniques I give you. But as I said, you know, if you feel like you need more practice, I would definitely give it. If you feel like you don't need a lot of practice, that's up to you, okay? I know this is kind of a wild idea, but hey, we're gonna give it a go. Okay, so remember, observational drawing, okay? That's what we're going to be working on. All right, remember, observational drawing is the idea that we're drawing anything that we see around in the world, okay? Whether it be a still life objects, whether it be a portrait of a person, a figure, it could be a landscape, it could be architecture. Anything that we can actually literally stare at, okay? One of the tips that we have is do the eye bounce. Eye bounce, okay? Where we look back and forth from something. So we look at the item, we go back. We look at the item, we go back, okay? Another one is light to dark, okay? We start light and then we kind of build, all right? Another one is to kind of focus on our foreground. Okay, I'm gonna start with fore, mid, and background. These are areas that we want to kind of still remember as we're doing our project, okay? As our drawings, all right? So the steps that we're gonna look at right now is we're gonna look at map, okay? 2 is contour. For anyone who doesn't know what a contour line, that's like the outline. And then 3 is final details, okay? Now final details have a, I'll stick that eye in there. Final details kind of have a couple of things that go with it, all right? Now I want to kind of show you real quick. I'm going to pull out a book that I have, okay, of what some of these things look like and what we're going to look at, all right? So right here, remember this is a portrait. As you can kind of see, we have those breaks down. We have the background. She is kind of in the midground, so in the middle. And we got her palette that's almost like the front, okay? Let's look at landscape. Okay. I love this landscape. Okay. Same thing. Stuff going on in the background. We have the bridge. We have stuff up front. Even when we have architecture in here, okay? We can break it down. And last but not least, kind of wild and crazy, okay? This is still life. Background, foreground, excuse me, background, midground, foreground, okay? How do we break these down? How do we look at them? All right, so when we're looking at objects, when we're looking at stuff, actually I'm gonna switch gears, okay? I'm gonna bring out an object, okay? And then I'll talk about things that are there. First we wanna do is we wanna map things out. So whenever you're looking at anything that you're drawing, okay? You wanna map it out. You want to create a sketch or a guideline on where things are, okay? Most times you wanna see is like, can they have lines or shapes put into them, okay? Another thing is, how close do these lines and shape need to be next to each other? So for example, I see this line here. I would put a line here too, okay? Now in relation to this circle, it's kind of like right on top of it. All right, I look for where my guidelines are gonna be. Now, is this thick enough? No, because it's like a skeleton. We have an oval here. So I'd put my oval here. Now, it is not perfect, but remember, it's light, because I'm starting off light to dark. So we map out our guidelines, okay? I might put in this here, right there, and here. Rough sketch. Okay, next contour. This is all the the outlines, okay? This gives us our basic construction and where things are gonna be. So I'm gonna start, and notice I'm getting a little darker. And I'm starting to work on the outline. Some outlines I might say, hey, you know what? I want this to be a little bit wider here. Here, this kind of made that there, okay? I see that this circle up here, I'm gonna make that a little bit cleaner. And you know what? I didn't put this in. That's like the, I don't know, the thing that holds it. I don't know. Okay. Start adding some lines and some kind of like more details to it. All right. So I see here, this is the spot where all the lights come up. So I'm gonna just darken it. I didn't quite, sometimes you know, even though I'm in the contour, I might need to go back by the mapping. Like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like that, but this helps me figure out where things go. Okay. And then we have lines down here too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. Start contouring. Now it's starting to look like something. It's really starting to build up. The last one we have is final details, okay? Now remember, yes, we can go back and forth between these, okay? But the final details, for some reason, a lot of people like to jump to the contour and go to the final details. Final details are really going in, okay? And cleaning up, okay? The fine details, the little stuff, okay? And then color and shading happen at this point, okay? So for example, I might start cleaning up the edges, things that I don't need anymore, okay? I might say, you know what, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna really work on this. Okay, notice how I really start to work on each one of these. Adding the shading and the details that are in it. Kind of focusing and slowing down. Now, I know you can't see this, but my eye is bouncing back and forth to really look at what I'm kind of, you know, drawing here. Now, there we go, all right? If you feel comfortable to shade, okay, now I'm not going to talk about shading until the next unit, okay? But if you feel that you're comfortable to shade or to add color, you can definitely add that as well. But this one is just about looking at things, okay? Now, another thing I want to talk about is if you have something that's three-dimensional, okay? Sometimes mapping out doesn't necessarily mean having it straightforward like this. Okay, sometimes it means it's, you know, three-dimensional. Let me see if I have something around here that's three-dimensional. Play-Doh. Okay, so we have Play-Doh. All right. So as you can see that this is a cylinder, all right? Sometimes we have to look at things and kind of gauge it. So we'll look at it and say, oh, you know what, when it looks at it, I know that it's a circle on top and it comes down. This is incorrect. This is drawing what I think it is. That's not what it is, all right? When I look at this, right here, this Play-Doh, this looks very skinny to me. So you draw what you see. So I'm mapping it out, okay? I'm gonna kind of place things down, go back and forth, okay? Mapping it out, contours, little ridges, okay? Go back in, add the lines that go through it. There's like a little ledge here. Okay. Go into the final details, clean things up. Add the details. The Play-Doh. It's kind of hard because I'm looking at it from two different directions, okay? All right, let's move that. So look at things. Sometimes when you're mapping it out, it might be a direction like how far is something. Use your pencil also to see if you can figure it out. Like if I hold it like this, you ever seen like artists going like trying to figure out what this is? This is because they're trying to eye it up and then try to figure out in the space for the drawing. This actually helps with when you're drawing a person, okay, their face, because you'll like line it up and say like, oh, you know what? That's kind of like half of this distance, all right? So for example, if I was lining this up, I might say, you know what? This space is a little more than half of this. So, oh, you know what? I was right. It is a little bit more than half of that, and I was kind of able to gauge it. All right, gauge it out, excuse me. Okay, how does this work when we're looking at an image? Okay, actually, you know what? Let's kind of look at some of these, the ones that are on the front of this book, okay? So for example, if we're looking at a picture, what you can do is you can map it out too. Like for example, this little guy here. I would draw a line that goes across, okay? Put an oval here and maybe some triangles. That would help me figure out where things are, okay? Right here with this, I don't know, it's almost like it's a vanishing point, the way that these palm trees, I guess, or these, whatever these kind of trees are, this landscape. I would start here, I'd start adding in lines and just building up like little areas, okay? Then say, okay, we got that. Build it, build it, build it, all right? Let's go down to the dog, okay? Let's zoom in on that dog. Oh, look at that. I zoomed in, that's pretty cool. Dog could be an oval. I'd put that oval in the center of that page because it's taking up a lot of that space. Then I'd put some lines for the legs. You could even for this leg, so watch. I'm gonna zoom out. There we are. So that dog could be here. You could put these lines for the legs. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can hear the dog in the background. Oh, it's a dog. Not my dog. My dog, unfortunately, doesn't bark. Okay. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll bulk it up because I know that there's muscles there. So when I go through and I can outline, it just makes it a little bit easier, okay? So you can pretend that you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's circles under there. So you put them in, okay? So that's how I can really help you get through each one of these types, all right? Now, just a reminder, all right? For 6th grade, you need to practice objects, okay? Because your project is going to be based on still lifes, whether you have the theme of this or that, okay? 7th grade, you're focusing on landscapes, okay, and architecture. 8th grade, you're focused on figures and portraits, okay? So I would suggest that you kind of sketch them out. Now, I'm not saying that these have to be perfect, okay? I'm not looking for like amazing artist quality, you know, someone who's been doing this forever and ever and ever, okay? I'm looking that you keep developing your skill, all right? So for example, let's say you're doing a portrait and you're like, oh, I just can't figure out the actual eye, okay? So what you might want to do is really look at the eye. Say, oh, it looks like an oval. Oh, you know what? It kind of looks like a circle inside. Oh, there's another circle inside. Okay, I can see how I could break this down. Then we have the coloring and I got it, okay? That's what I'm looking for. You'll look at it, draw the basic lines, okay? And that will be it. Then you should be good, okay? As I said before, I would highly suggest that you take this page, okay, and you practice. Whether you're sketching up in the little corners, you're practicing in all the little areas, drawing different things, you know, that's what I'm looking for, all right? This is what each grade is working on, okay? All right, and that will be it. And when you're done practicing on this page, okay, upload it into Seesaw.